What are the biggest downsides, cons or negatives of cruising? I'm Gary Bembridge. This is another of my cruising tips for travelers. In another video, I explored the positives, the good things about cruising. I want to explore the downsides and the negatives of cruising, starting with this one. Probably the biggest negative that you hear of cruising is the concerns about the environmental impact and sustainability of cruising. I've done a whole video looking at this whole area, but it's clearly a question as people get more and more concerned, whether it's air travel, rail travel, whatever kind of travel it is. With the cruising industry, they are aware of this and they know that they need to become better at this whole area. So they have a goal of reducing carbon emissions by 40% in the next decade. And they're doing all sorts of things with different types of fuel, like liquid nitrified gas, looking at alternative fuel, better recycling, plugging into power when they're in port rather than running the engines. The other thing linked to sustainability and environment is over-tourism. As these ships get bigger and bigger, they call on a lot of the same ports. One of the risks are that a lot of the ports are getting kind of overrun with people and really busy. Again, this is something that they know they have to address both from an environmental perspective, but also, of course, from a passenger experience. But you will find many of the places you go to, whether it's Santorini, Dubrovnik, or some of the places in the Caribbean, you can have 5 or 6 ships there and it can be crazy, crazy busy. So that's one of the downsides. I think this is going to change as the cruise lines know that they have to create a better experience when you're in port and a better experience in terms of the whole cruising experience and the environment. Another downside of cruising, one could argue, is that people are traveling the world in a bubble. Once they're on board their ship, they are in, whether it's a more American or a more UK, whatever experience, and they're not really connecting and engaging with the places they're visiting because they're not staying in local hotels, always going to local restaurants. They're traveling in a bit of a bubble, so a little bit disconnected. So you could argue that is one of the downsides of cruising. It doesn't really get you to connect very closely with the places that you're in. Of course, there are things you can do. You can make sure that you go on more excursions that connect you with people, and you're finding more and more the cruise lines are introducing kind of go local excursions where you do really get to connect and understand and get a little bit under the skin of the places you're visiting. The third potential downside of cruising is that you don't really spend a lot of time in any one place. So at the moment, most of the places you cruise to, you'll get there sort of early morning, 8 o'clock, you might leave at 4, 5, 6 o'clock. And so you're not really spending a lot of time. Now, of course, if you find you really like a place and you want to spend more time there, you can't because you're really fixed by the time the ship leaves. Of course, if you're traveling on land-based, you may have more flexibility. This is, again, I think another area that the cruise lines understand is a concern to the modern traveler, particularly younger travelers. And so what they're starting to do is to stay in port much longer. So you'll find increasingly you're leaving ports 10, 11 o'clock at night, and more there's overnight stays. And I think this is the way that cruising is going to become more and more attuned to and do much more, is longer stays, more overnight stays, so that people can really connect with the places they're going and experience not only the port in the daytime, but also in the evening they have a chance to actually go and do 2 or 3 things when they're in a port. A fourth positive downside of cruising is if you cruise quite often, particularly in the same area, the itineraries can get quite repetitive. The reason for this is that there's only so many ports that ships can call on, particularly as the ships get bigger and bigger. So there's only so many ports that can really cope with the size of ships and have the infrastructure. So you'll find if you go on a Mediterranean cruise, for example, you'll often call at the same ports. You'll be going to Barcelona, Marseille, Monte Carlo, Livorno, Civitavecchia for Rome, those same places. And again, in the Caribbean, you'll find if you go on a Caribbean cruise, you're often going to the same ports over and over again. So if you cruise a lot, it can get a little bit repetitive. Of course, there are things you can do with that. You can choose different cruise lines. You can go on smaller ships or bigger ships to try and shake it up a bit. But there is a risk that if you cruise in the same place at the same time, you could find one of the negatives are you calling on the same places over and over again. One of the other downsides of cruising is you'll find that the cruise lines, certainly in their terms and conditions in the contract, can change or cancel a port at any time without giving you compensation. Now, of course, cruise lines are going to not just do it because they want to do it, they're going to have to do it because of the weather, which is the main reason, or there's some other sort of disturbance, political or whatever disturbance or health disturbance that stops them going there. But you do find you could go on a cruise and there's certain places that you really want to go to, but that port gets cancelled and there's nothing you can do about it. Of course, if you've got on a land-based cruise, there's ways you can perhaps work around that and find a way of going there later or whatever. But bear in mind, if you go on a cruise, you need to be flexible and understand that the weather or other conditions can stop you going on a port, and there is no compensation for that. It's what the cruise line's allowed to do if it's out of their control. One of the other downsides of cruising is cruising related illnesses. Now, the most obvious of those is seasickness. And that does affect some people, and it depends a lot on the itinerary. Of course, there's things you can do for that. And I would always recommend, if you go on a cruise, be prepared. Make sure you've taken with you the motion sickness, the seasickness medication that you know works for you. If you really are struggling, you can go to the medical center and you can pay to have some treatment done. It's like a little jab. It's really good. The other one that a lot of people are concerned about and worry about is norovirus. Now, in practice, the norovirus, which is the vomiting and stomach bug, its incidence on cruise ships is definitely no higher. In fact, it's lower than it is on land. It just gets huge amounts of publicity when it does happen on a ship because of the way it has to be documented and the publicity around it. Of course, it's very obvious that it's broken out. The best way of avoiding norovirus is wash your hands constantly with soap and water. That is absolutely critical, and try to then avoid touching public surfaces and getting anywhere near your mouth. But soap and water, constantly doing that, is the best way to avoid it. That's what I've done, and it has definitely made a massive difference. When there's been a norovirus outbreak, I've managed to avoid it. One of the downsides that a lot of people say about cruising is you have often a lot of extra costs. So what happens is you have a cruise fare and you think that's great and it's a great deal, and I think what cruise lines really try and do is make sure that they have obviously the lowest fare to try and get you on board. Once you're on board, though, you can find there's lots of extra costs, like you might have to pay gratuities or service charge, which can be quite a lot of money. It could be $12, $15 per person per day, or up if up from that if you're staying in a suite. You have excursions to pay for, you'll have drinks to pay for, you'll have obviously other things you do, whether it's gambling or using the laundry or whatever those things are. So there's lots of extra costs on board. One of the big ones, of course, also being Wi-Fi, which can be pretty expensive. So you'll find that one of the downsides of cruising is there are a lot of extra costs. Of course, the way to do that is when you're looking at planning your cruise, make sure that you've thought through all those things and see what is included. Now, more and more cruise lines are starting to bundle things in. So, for example, Virgin Voyages, they do include things like Wi-Fi, gratuities, some of the basic drinks, all of the specialty dining is included. And you find you can often buy packages or deals that bundle those. So one of the downsides or negatives could be that your cruise fare is not necessarily what your actual holiday is going to cost you. For me, one of the downsides of cruising is the whole embarkation and disembarkation process. Now, of course, if you're going on a land-based holiday, you may have more problems because you're in and out of airports, cancelled flights, and that's quite stressful. But because so many people are cruising, particularly in the big ports, if you're going to Miami or Fort Lauderdale, or in Europe, you might be going to Barcelona or Rome or Southampton, these can be quite busy, crazy places for both embarkation and disembarkation day. You can have 15,000 people getting off and 15,000 people getting on. So the process is quite slow. Now, the good news is that technology is making it better and better. So you'll find, for example, on Princess Cruises, they now have the medallion where you can get yourself ocean ready, where you upload everything and pretty much you sail through. You'll find Royal Caribbean are increasingly doing things to get you through much faster using technology. But embarkation process can be very slow, very painful, lots of waiting around. Disembarkation, when they're trying to get 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people off the ship, can be very long, slow, and drawn out. However, in my view, compared to chopping and changing through airports, it's probably not as bad, but it is a potential downside of cruising. Those for me are the 8 downsides or negatives of cruising. Of course, there are many upsides to cruising, and as I said, I have a whole video where I talk about the upsides of cruising as well. I have loads more videos of cruising tips and advice, so why don't you watch another one of those right now.